What if the most important event in human history really happened? What if one man truly defeated death, and the evidence has been staring us in the face for 2,000 years? In the year 33 AD, in the city of Jerusalem, Jesus of Nazareth was nailed to a Roman cross. He hung there for 6 agonizing hours, suffocating under the weight of his own body, until at last he breathed his final breath. The sky darkened, the earth shook, and the hopes of his followers shattered. His body was taken down and laid in a tomb carved from rock. A massive stone was rolled across the entrance. Pilate ordered Roman soldiers to stand guard and placed an official seal upon the stone. No one was getting in, and no one was getting out. The disciples scattered. Peter wept. The others hid behind locked doors, terrified that they would be next. 3 years of miracles, teachings, and promises, and now it seemed like it was all for nothing. Their Messiah was dead. But then came Sunday. As the first pale light of dawn crept over the hills of Jerusalem, something happened that would change the course of history forever. Mary Magdalene arrived at the tomb while it was still dark. What she found stopped her in her tracks. The massive stone had been rolled away. The Roman guards had fled, and the tomb was empty. She ran to tell Peter and John. They sprinted to the scene. John arrived first and peered inside. Peter, ever impulsive, charged straight in. The burial linens lay folded neatly, as if the body had simply passed through them. There were no signs of theft, no signs of struggle, only absence. And here is a fact that even the enemies of Christianity have never been able to explain away. The tomb was empty. The Jewish authorities never produced the body. The Romans never produced the body. No one in the ancient world, friend or foe, ever denied that the tomb was empty. The only question was, why? The answer came swiftly, and it came from the most unlikely source: the witnesses. Mary Magdalene was the first. She stood weeping outside the tomb when a figure appeared and spoke her name. Mary. She turned, and through her tears she saw him, Jesus, alive. That same evening, the disciples huddled together behind locked doors. Suddenly, Jesus stood among them. He showed them his hands and his side, the wounds of the cross still visible. "Peace be with you," he said, and fear gave way to something no one expected: joy.
But Thomas wasn't there that night.
When the others told him, he refused to believe. "Unless I put my finger into the nail marks," he said, "I will not believe." A week later, Jesus appeared again. He looked at Thomas and said, "Put your finger here, stop doubting, and believe." Thomas fell to his knees. "My Lord and my God." And it didn't stop there. The Apostle Paul records that Jesus appeared to more than 500 people at one time, most of whom were still alive when Paul wrote those words, as if to say, "Go ahead, ask them." Groups of people do not hallucinate together. 500 witnesses do not share the same delusion. Something real had happened. But perhaps the most compelling evidence is not what people saw, it's what people did. Consider the transformation. These were men who had abandoned Jesus at the cross. Peter had denied him 3 times before a rooster crowed. They were broken, afraid, and in hiding. And yet, within weeks, these same men were standing in the streets of Jerusalem, proclaiming boldly that Jesus had risen from the dead. They healed the sick. They defied the authorities. They turned the Roman Empire upside down. Every single one of the apostles was willing to suffer and die for this testimony. Peter was crucified upside down. James was beheaded. Paul was executed in Rome. People will die for what they believe to be true, but no one dies for what they know is a lie. These men had seen the risen Christ, and nothing could make them deny it. From a handful of frightened followers in an upper room, the church exploded across the ancient world. Within 3 centuries, the faith of the resurrection had conquered the mightiest empire on earth, not by the sword, but by the unshakable conviction that death had been defeated. The resurrection of Jesus is not merely a historical event. It is an invitation to you. It means that death is not the end. It means that forgiveness is real, that hope is not an illusion, and that the grave does not have the final word. Because he lives, you can face tomorrow. Because he lives, every fear is gone. This is not a myth. This is not a legend. This is the most well-attested event of the ancient world, and it changes everything. Believe it, share it, and let the risen King transform your life, just as he transformed the world.